Hello, everyone. My screen name is V2K Victim. V2K means voice to skull. It's a system whereby using the right types of EMF frequencies and other unknown technologies, where potentially even beam from satellite, they're able to beam voices into your head or right before your ears and make it seem like you are going insane. Most people that this will happen to, they will believe they're going insane. Most of them will probably go into the mental health system, end up on heavy antipsychotic drugs. I believe that someone's trying to silence us for whatever reason. I think by the majority of it, most of us, we call ourselves targeted individuals, TIs. The overwhelming majority of us were Christian, and we are generally higher IQ individuals. And we're probably pretty outspoken people. So if there was, say, a shadow government or an antichrist that was in the works, they might want to proactively eliminate certain people. Now, the victims of these attacks, such as myself, like in my case, I was institutionalized into a mental ward 3 times when they really ramped up the attack. They have the capacity to completely overwhelm your senses. And it seems like certain geographical locations or whatnot may be targeted. A lot of people believe that their homes have been tampered with in some way, because in my case, my bedroom and bathroom, the attacks are the strongest, they're the most potent. I've tried to figure out how this could be possible. I believe that there is definitely a spiritual warfare component to this, because whatever is doing this is able to not only in real time read my thoughts in my head, sometimes even before I formulate them, but they will say these thoughts out loud, uh, in my bedroom. I've made recordings of it, but they're quite quiet. I figured there had to be some way the spectrum was being interfered with. I'm an electronics guru, so I hooked up a high-end Yaesu HF radio, and I also had something that first of all, I'm not the only one who thought this first. Some of us believe that the power lines and the power delivery systems are the central methodology, the central entry point that is used to abuse us. I happen to have a device called a whole house TV antenna. These were popular back in the 90s. Basically, they claim to turn all of the wiring in your house, in your 120 volt outlet, into one giant TV antenna. Now, they worked horribly for TV, because anyone knows with TV back in the day before it went digital, you had to move those rabbit ears all over the place. And you can't really move the wires in your wall, can you? But when it comes to picking up very, very low frequencies require long, long lengths of wire. And I figured that I'd use this whole house TV antenna because it actually taps into that wiring safely. It allows me to use it as an antenna and listen in on those lower frequencies without getting shocked or killed, which is a plus. And what I discovered was a huge, highly active network of frequencies that start all the way down at around 30 hertz, which is about half the fundamental frequency of North American power. North American power runs at 60 hertz. I found signals pretty much all the way up into the 2 megahertz range. And I also discovered that multiple types of signal modulation are being used simultaneously. RTTY, FM, FM wide, AM, upper sideband, lower sideband. I think I said AM. All of these methodologies, they all behave a little bit differently. And it appears that what they are doing is, whoever's doing this, they are broadcasting either over the power lines or in close proximity to the power lines in someone's house, or they're tapping into it somehow. And they're broadcasting several different frequencies, and on each frequency, they're broadcasting with multiple different signal types, so that depending on how the victim is tuning it in, or however they're doing it, if they have some device that they modify, you could end up having multiple channels or all these different conversations and threats and voices in your head, screams, jokes, conversations between 2 or 3 people. It can be done. So right now what I'd like to show you is I have a frequency of 1.55 megahertz hooked up to my whole house TV antenna. I have it in RTTY mode. And in this mode, what I'm going to reveal is, first off, I have had horrible episodes by them where they have presented the sound of screaming souls in my ears, telling me that we're in hell already, or I'm going to hell, and that I'm going to hear the sound of like 50 million people screaming. And the sound of the screams happens to be one of the frequencies that I picked up. Now I'm going to play it for you, and you can hear it. And now, not only do I tend to hear the screams, but sometimes there's other talking on top of it. And what I've done over here is I had to do a controlled study to show you that there's something called synthetic telepathy, basically where they use these signal methods, especially if you're being exposed to all these frequencies from your own house wiring, and you don't even realize it for years. Imagine what it could be doing to the developing brain or your brain chemistry. You don't really know. Some people say that this is being done to induce telepathy in people. It's called synthetic telepathy. And that is why I'm able to have two-way conversations between me and these evil parties, whoever they are. We know that somehow they're operating here on the planet, but they could still be from the demonic realm. It's just hard to tell. So what I've done is I've created a spreadsheet here, which is the survey says, and I have like door number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Behind those doors are random things, like a roll of duct tape, something like that. I didn't specifically memorize which door has what, so I'm going to try and do this as a controlled test of the synthetic telepathy to see if, when I show you what the screen says, and then thus I read it in my own head, we'll see if you hear it on the radio. Now, remember, these are very, very low frequencies. This one's at the top of the AM broadcast band. No one's going to be able to legally broadcast on these frequencies. These frequencies are so low, you would need massive antennas, and there's no license to do this. I've found them broadcasting all the way down on 30 hertz. No radio. The only thing that operates, actually no, nothing really operates that low. The lowest I think is like 20 kilohertz or 30 kilohertz, and that is the U.S. Navy's VLF system for communicating with underwater submarines. So let's go ahead and turn this on, and you're going to hear something disturbing. It's going to sound like a whole bunch of horrible screams. So you can see it's very disturbing, very disturbing. Also overlaid on that, at least from what I hear, and I will say that sometimes what I hear in my head or in my ears or in the room is not necessarily what gets recorded. So this will be kind of an interesting test. So let's go ahead and start the controlled challenge here, okay? So, survey says, let's go to door number 2. I'm going to say that in my head. All right. Let's do another one here. Let's look at door number 5. All right, let's go try door number 1. All right, so it'll be interesting to see how the actual recording comes out. I'm going to just see if I could try changing the mode real quick here. In fact, here's another better sound of the screams I hear. So what I hear is an overlay of screams, and then frequently, you've got to get out of here. You've got to get out of here. Now that's what I hear. Sometimes the recording can be different. So now that I'm in this mode, let me try one more door, and we'll see what we hear. in this mode, in the RTTY mode, behind door number 4. See that? All right, let's see. All right. So let me just say that when I see this on the screen, the reason why I don't say it out loud is for part of the control. I want to show that I can psychically, with the synthetic telepathy, beam it through into this channel, however it's being done. And I'm repeating this word in my head. Amazon Fire TV Stick. Amazon Fire TV Stick. I'm repeating it in my head, and consciously somehow it's being picked up and then relayed over radio frequencies. It's this particular frequency. So let me just be clear. I don't know how this is happening. They've made claims that I'm dead already, that I'm already in hell, and that this is how they screw with people when someone dies in their sleep. And when they die, they're not, they might be in a bad place in their life, and it may not be in the best spiritual place. It might have a spiritual malady. And that's what they claim. Now, I don't know if I'm sold on that. The other things they've said is that that somehow the world ended for everybody and it got rebooted. But there's somehow some of us who are aware of this. Most of the population is not, but a big chunk of us are aware that something happened. Because some call us the chosen ones. We noticed things going on. Either we started hearing things, or we started noticing changes in people's behaviors. We started noticing patterns in things that other people didn't. And it almost felt like we were being gaslit all the time. And that it just seemed like no one would believe us, no matter how good of evidence we'd present to people. We were almost unilaterally disbelieved. Unless, of course, one of the people that you were telling it to then themselves got gang stalked. This is called gang stalking. There's traditional gang stalking, which is done in theater. They call it street theater, where sometimes you'll be followed by like 5 black sedans, or you'll be looking at your phone while you're walking, and you read an article about some celebrity, and then a minute later you see a guy who's walking the opposite way kind of touch his ear like he's got a Bluetooth headset, and then he'll just all of a sudden turn to you and say the name of that celebrity. It's just screw with your head. But then there's electronic gang stalking, and electronic gang stalking is the one that I've suffered from. It's the one that involves the manipulation of electronics devices, of electronics phenomenon. It involves advanced technologies that are able to synthesize voices from anything that has some form of energy that it can manipulate. It's not just radio waves in audio waves, but like just the buzzing sound that any 60 hertz regular AC appliance makes, like a washing machine or dryer, even my refrigerator, the hum of it. I hear the voices in the hum. No one else in the house hears it. They don't notice it at all. Um, but I know for a fact it's there because I've verified it. Because I've tuned this radio to 60 hertz on the power frequency, and sure enough, I find it. Um, so, just real quick for some good gang stalking resources. If all of a sudden you start going through this, um, this is extremely dangerous. It could lead to your death. Make no mistake about it. A lot of them, they want you to die. They want to use these techniques against you to get you to die by being basically forcing people into suicide, murder suicide, or mass murder. Many of the mass shooters have said right before their deaths, they've recorded videos and left statements behind claiming they were gang stalked, and it drove them mad. Most recently, the big shooter in Maine that killed like 9 or 12 people, he was being gang stalked. He was a veteran with PTSD, and all of a sudden he started hearing the voices. They were tormenting him. He was way past the age where schizophrenia normally starts, which is in your 20s. This guy was like late 30s, early 40s, and he was taken advantage of in that way. And I'm just trying to get the word out to try and figure this out from a scientific point of view and provide resources to people so that they know, no, you're not going crazy. There is a real phenomenon here. And if you're hearing it, for some reason you've been chosen, all I could tell you is I've had to lean in deeply spiritually here through Jesus Christ, through my Savior, through the power of prayer. Because the type of stuff that we're experiencing here is the exact type of stuff that Jesus and the apostles fully prophesied in the New Testament, in the book of Revelation. They said the powers and principalities from the heavenly kingdoms, all these different levels of demons and entities and fallen angels and creatures, disembodied spirits, that these things eventually are going to start ramping up their attacks on mankind. And that as Christians, we have the right and the power to, through Jesus' authority, fight these demons. Now, it's not just a fix-all, because there have been some of us that, not me, but others who've attested that they've even gotten exorcisms and it didn't work. But this is a much stronger presence than I could even explain. It's that dangerous. Now, for further resources on gangstalking, V2K, another part of it is called remote neural monitoring. This is how they're able to read your mind in real time and able to basically, through some type of artificial intelligence-based systems, through some type of quantum tunneling, they're able to decipher our thoughts, and then not only that, manipulate our thoughts in real time. They could insert speech subconsciously through us. They could make us all of a sudden feel things and slightly visualize things in our heads, things that are inappropriate. These are things that we know demons do. But what if there's some corrupt humans that have been possessed and they're using this to develop technologies to do this here on planet? They could then be used and leveraged by the government, the military. For all we know, they're experimenting on random groups of people. Or they're not so random. Maybe they look at people's records covertly and look for people that might have mental health disorders or substance abuse disorders, and just decide, well, no one's going to believe them if this happens, if we try it on them and they go nuts. Everyone's just going to say, oh, he's just a dope fiend, or he's just bipolar or schizophrenic. Never mind him. Never mind her. It's a horrible way to be discounted. There's nothing worse than knowing full well, even through technological means, that there is something devious going on. Devious. And no one wants to believe you. No one. Except for, some of the communities, I recommend you visit Quora, Quora.com. Quora.com, and do a search there for any conversations on gangstalking, V2K, voice to skull, remote neural monitoring, and targeted individuals. And specifically, read the answers to the questions and then read all of the comment sections. It's the comment sections that are the gold mine, because they're the ones where you will see all of these people all experiencing this at the same time, with a big pickup in it within the last year and a half, 2 years, which is when I started getting affected by it. But some people have been going through this for a decade. Now, mind you, some of them may legitimately just be insane. They could very well have had schizophrenia from a young age, and they're interpreting it as this. But there's too many familiarities, too many similarities in the profiles, the profile points, that it's not a coincidence. It can't be, especially because most of the people who end up finding these posts on Quora, they just start having the symptoms and they start doing Google searches for what their symptoms, and then they find all these people on Quora in a similar community, and they realize, whoa, we all have the same thing going on here. So it's very dangerous. It's very dangerous. Very dangerous. The consequences are dire. I can only say that much. That if this were, assuming this is still the real world, the world didn't end, but this is an active attack on people on planet. This is proof that something is happening in the spiritual realm, in the interdimensional realm, with potentially some form of alien species. This could be the prelude to the tribulation time in Christianity. I hypothesized early on that I don't believe that, they say that the Antichrist is going to be this great leader and magician who's going to be able to impress all of these people from all these different races and cultures and countries. You and I know for sure, most people agree. Just look at U.S. politics. People are more divided than ever. I don't think it's probable that, that there could be any figure that will ever be able to bridge so many divides and be able to bring so many people onto his side as the Antichrist. My belief is that a system like this is going to be used, and that the mark of the beast will be those who ended up getting attacked by this system and end up getting sucked into it, end up not being able to fight it, and then end up being completely controlled by it. They're then beholden to the Antichrist by force. Then it all makes sense, because I don't believe that voluntarily enough people are going to do it. But this is all speculation. I don't know this for sure. This is just the feeling I get from this, and my best guess. But I hope you found this video very helpful. Please, I'm eager to see your comments in the comments section. I'd be happy to hear if you could please write out some of the things that you hear in the recordings, what you hear on the frequencies, because sometimes what I say or what I say I'm hearing, my experience can be different, because whatever is doing this, they have the ability to basically holographically project sound over sound. So there'll be times where I'll play these back and I'll hear what I heard originally on the recording, and then all of a sudden I start hearing something completely different. And it's basically they are purposefully trying to sabotage me listening to it by putting something new over it in my head or in my environment, so that I don't hear what's really going on it, and then I just give up hope. They don't want me. Sorry, they don't want me sharing it. I may not even publish this because I know anytime I do something like this, they ramp up the attacks. Sometimes to the point of trying to basically kill me overnight. No joke. And I have to be very careful about it. But if I'm under any formal surveillance by anybody, well, they'll be watching all this anyways. So it's a good experience to see what's going on. So this is V2K Victim signing out. Thank you very much.